Hello, everyone. I want to wish all of you joining us from all around the world a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And thank you. Thank you for giving us an hour of your time today. And thank you so much for joining us for this pre-course information session for the upcoming online program, Applied Machine Learning, presented by Emeritus in collaboration with Columbia Engineering. We are so thrilled to have all of you here with us today. Let me tell you a little bit about our agenda for today. So I'm going to be introducing you to our incredible course leader and also the rest of the faculty, tell you a little bit about Emeritus itself, who is collaborating with Columbia Engineering to bring you this content. And then we're going to go through the entire course. We got an amazing 5-month course to tell you all about. And we're going to go module by module and tell you what you can expect from this incredible course, tell you about your learning journey and your learning experience with Emeritus. Let me introduce you some of the amazing minds that you will be meeting during this program. And first and foremost, the amazing mind that we have on this webinar. John Pellick is our incredible course leader for this program at Emeritus. John has enjoyed a long career in high tech, most recently focused on building virtual assistant products that have reached hundreds of millions of customers. Prior to that, John was part of the Azure Machine Learning product team at Microsoft. Prior to that, John directed the user experience development team for Blue Metal Incorporated. So one of the best possible people to be guiding you through this journey is John, and we are so thrilled to have him here with us today. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Mark. Thanks. Thanks for the introduction. As Mark said, I've been working in high tech for a while, and specifically lately, over the last 7 or 8 years, focused on AI and machine learning and data science. So hopefully, those experiences will be really relevant to your learning journey in this course. And I think I can hopefully I could show how the tools and techniques we'll be looking at can be applied directly and how they're used in industry and industry settings. And so I'd be delighted to be on this learning journey with you, and I look forward to working with you on this course.
Thank you so much, John. So John's going to be your incredible course leader, guiding you through this experience. We're going to be talking more about our course leaders, our learning facilitators later on, and how they provide this incredible, unique, and enriching experience to this program. But let me introduce you a little bit to some of the other faculty who've been driving this course. So from Columbia Engineering, our point person, our main faculty person is Dr. John W. Paisley, Associate Professor in Electrical Engineering at Columbia University, also an affiliated member of the Data Sciences Institute at Columbia. Dr. Paisley received his PhD in Electrical and Computer Engineering from Duke University, after which he was a postdoc in the computer science departments at both Princeton University and UC Berkeley. And Dr. Paisley's research is in the general area of statistical machine learning, but his interests include probabilistic modeling and inference techniques, Bayesian non-parametric methods, dictionary learning, and topic modeling. So that's Dr. Paisley. You're going to be doing a lot of video lectures and I believe some live webinars as well with Dr. Paisley. But what's unique about this program also is that there's also going to be a lot of emeritus faculty who are going to be teaching you, particularly in part 1, and John will tell us a little more about that, teaching you Python for data analytics. And so our emeritus faculty, we have 4 incredible minds who are going to be teaching you Python in part 1 of this 2-part course. Kristen Kerrer, Carmen Tagliente, Fabio Vasquez, and Mariana Lamnina are going to be with you side by side and teaching you all the ins and outs of Python. Again, I don't want to take too much of John's presentation, but so during this 5-month course, you are going to be meeting all these people and learning from all of them and being able to benefit from all their different perspectives and expertises. So that is just a window into some of the faculty that you will be meeting during this course. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Emeritus itself. Because some people often will ask, like, what is Emeritus's relationship to Columbia? How does this work? So what Emeritus is Emeritus partners with the best universities in the world to create their online courses. And Columbia Engineering is just one of many incredible schools that has partnered with Emeritus to create these online courses. And one of the things that Emeritus excels at is bringing in students from all around the world. So currently, we've served over 50,000 students throughout multiple universities in the United States and Europe, bringing them online content from some of the best universities in the world. So making some of the most storied institutions like Columbia University accessible to the entire world. And you will see that we have managed to really have not just a global cohort, but really have a deeply diverse cohort. You will see that no region of the world, the highest representation is only about 25%. So a quarter of our students come from the United States. We will see that our students are genuinely spread from all over the globe. The three largest regions of Asia are split almost evenly between the Pacific Coast at 18%, the Middle East at 15%, and South Asia at 14%. Our European students make about 15%, and our Latin American students make about 12%. So you can see that our global diversity is spread really nicely all around the world. And this is important because we also at Emeritus, we have set up these online programs so that you are not learning coincidentally at the same time as students from all around the world, but that we have set up our platform and our experience in a way so that you really are learning from your fellow students as well. You will actually feel like you are part of a cohort. You will know your classmates. You will be engaging with them in discussions throughout this program. You will really get to know them. You will have an opportunity to learn from each other, to benefit from each other. So sometimes with online courses, you just happen to be learning at the same time as someone from around the world, but this will really feel like this will be a cohort. This will really feel like a classroom experience. And also the way that we have structured this program is that we want you to be completing this program. We are as invested in your education as you are. So when we design these programs, first we make sure that that there are mobile learning, that everything's on a mobile app so that it's as most accessible to as many people as possible. And then it's just one-stop shopping. You open up the platform and everything's in one place. Again, our content comes from some of the finest academic institutions in the world, like Columbia. We have graded assignments and simulations, and that is meant so that you know that you are retaining and digesting and processing all this incredible information. We're not just interested in throwing content at you like water out of a fire hose and hoping that it's retained. We are invested in making sure that you are able to retain and use all this amazing content and use all this amazing knowledge in your present and future careers. You also see there, one thing we mentioned is bite-sized learning. And what that means is the whole point of online learning is that it's as flexible as possible. It's only as good if it is as flexible and can fit any possible schedule. So even though we're looking for our students to invest 8 to 10 hours per week in this program, investing in their education, we've broken down the video lectures and we've broken down everything into 5, 10, or even 15-minute pieces so that, 8 to 10 hours per week in a traditional academic environment would be 3 to 4 hours, 2 or 3 times a week. But the whole benefit of online learning is that it can be done at any time and at any place. So we've broken it down so that, say you have a 20, 25-minute train commute every day. Well, those 50 minutes a day, we've broken it down so that you can fit in 6, 8, maybe even 10 video lectures just in your train commute. And then 5 days a week, 50 minutes at a time, that's almost 4 of your 8 to 10 hours. That's almost half the hours you need to commit in a week covered just during your commute on the train. So that is what bite-sized learning means. It means breaking things down for the best possible results for our students. You also see there peer-to-peer learning and feedback. You really will be engaging with your fellow students and learning not just at the same time as them, but really alongside them. And we follow up with you to ensure that everything is complete. And our course completion rates at Emeritus are over 85%. So we are just as committed to your learning as you are. Now, another benefit with Emeritus is that we have this Emeritus network that connects all Emeritus past participants across programs and across schools and across the world. So all of our participants are going to have this incredible global network where they're able to share their professional experiences, generate ideas, develop ventures, identify opportunities, join discussions, and access global career opportunities. And this is amazing because, maybe you finish like this course, and you're thinking, I wonder what course is next that people benefit from. Is there another Emeritus course people benefit from? Is there another school or is there another program that would be right for me? And you will be able to find people from all over the world in the exact same position as you, in the exact same place on their learning journey, even though they might be in very different places in their career journey. That's the other thing. We talked about the global diversity, but you will be learning alongside people with the full range of work experience. You will have people in your cohort with 1 to 5 years of work experience. You might have people in your cohort with over 25 years of experience. Many of our programs have that kind of diversity of work experience. And so this Emeritus network, where you can connect with people all over the world, and you can receive tuition assistance, connecting with that global network, invitation to global events, that special startup corner where you can identify opportunities and develop ventures, extended program access. I believe it is for 1 year after the start date of the program. You have access to the materials and also access to specialized Emeritus groups as well. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to John Pellick. Take it away, John.
Thanks, Mark. So to introduce the course content to you, we'll put the next slide if you like. So the course is really divided into two major parts, but each week we'll have 8 to 10 hours of work, over a course of spread over 5 months. So there'll be video lectures, there'll be some graded assignments, discussions, self-assessments, and these kinds of things. And we'll work with some data sets that are both classic and popular, seen throughout the world of doing AI and machine learning and data science, right? So these will touch upon, in the world of AI, right, the algorithms that go ahead and support building things like recommendation systems, the algorithmic support for logistic regression, building decision tree solutions, both boosted and bagged, and all other kinds of variants for that matter too. We'll take a good look at Bayesian linear regression and Bayesian approaches in general as a ways to go ahead and build statistical machine learning models, right, based upon knowledge of prior population distributions. We'll take a look at clustering later on, where we figure out over unlabeled data sets where the data group and cohere together, and how we might be able to use that to make some useful insights. We'll dig into the k-nearest neighbors algorithm as a way to go ahead and build a classification model, but also as the basis for doing the k-means clustering, which I just mentioned, right? We'll also look at some deeper statistical models that are a little more robust, things like support vector machines, and we'll also make use of ridge regression as a technique to build regression models that are a little bit more robust than the standard models built over using the method of least squares. Once you complete all of this, right, you'll have a certificate awarded by Emeritus in collaboration with Columbia Engineering, right? So it's a fine credential to have, right? And you'll have a good solid foundation in statistical machine learning, right? These algorithms, right, the mathematics underneath this are the foundation upon which you can further explore, go deeper into deep learning and those kinds of things on from here, natural language processing, computer vision, those sorts of things. Next slide, please. And the media that we'll use to go ahead and interact, right, will be, first of all, the recorded video lectures from the faculty, right? There'll also be online quizzes and assignments. There'll be QA sessions with the course leaders, including me. I'll be doing a weekly office hour. I think there was a question in the Q&A about when that office hour might be. I tend to put it in the 8 a.m. Eastern US time zone hour, but it's recorded so you can have it on demand. And I'm reasonably responsive to questions that are posted up on the Canvas too, right? So if you go ahead and post a question there, I'll try to get back to you, within the day. Hopefully I'll be able to respond quickly. There's also moderated discussion boards. This is where we expect and hope that you'll form that sort of bond as a cohort, right? Working together and helping each other and supporting each other as a community, which is essentially how a lot of the open source and particularly machine learning type communities have propelled themselves, right? Through these self-supported discussions. Also, there's some projects that'll be included in the, especially in the second half of the course. So be basically a weekly notebook with a project to go ahead and complete, and I'll work with you on that. Next slide. So to discuss the specifics of the modules in the course, so again, this course is divided into two parts. The first part is intended to give you an introduction to Python and the tools for doing data science, right? So it tended to be a gentle introduction. So while you're presumed to have some background in computer science and programming, right, you might be new to programming in Python or working with Jupyter Notebooks, and we're going to be doing that extensively in this course, right? So we begin by just giving you a nice overview of the world of data science, and then start to dig into Python, working from the ground up, first with data types and the operators that are present in the programming language, and then Moving from there into writing functions, and then from there making use of the popular data science packages for Python, right? So these are generally, NumPy, pandas, matplotlib, and a few others, right? But and scikit-learn actually is the other big one we're going to hit upon, right? But these will be gently introduced in the first half of the course. Once we know how to access that functionality, we dig a little further into the programming language, look at some more of the more advanced concepts and the syntax of the language, right? And from there, then we start to dig into these packages in a little more detail. So module 6 is where we spend a lot of time with pandas, looking at how to load data frames and data series. Next slide, please. Module 7 is where we look at visualization libraries for Python and data science, specifically matplotlib. We also touch upon Seaborn in the course, which is another one that we make use of. Module 8 then switches over to looking at a little bit of the mathematics behind doing data science, right? So we'll spend some time looking at random variables and how to draw statistical inferences over data sets. So a little bit of probability and a little bit of statistics. And Module 9 digs a little bit deeper there, where we start to look at distributions in a little more detail. So things like the normal distribution, Gaussian distribution, that's used pretty heavily, but also things like, the gamma distribution, exponential distributions, Poisson variables, those sorts of things. We'll also talk about hypothesis testing, right? So when we have a small sample from a larger population, do we understand, or can we draw a conclusion that it's highly likely that something has changed, or is this just more noise from the same data set, right? So we'll take a look at that. Then we'll switch over in module 10 to the more mundane start parts of data science, but these parts are really critical, where we do data cleaning and data analysis. Oftentimes, almost without exception, right, you'll spend a lot of time doing data science work in these areas, right, making sure your data are clean and appropriately denoised, so that the algorithms that are built and the models that are built on top of them, right, can go ahead and produce good, robust models. Right? So we'll take a look at that in weeks 10 and 11. In week 12, at the end of the first half of the course, we do a quick refresher of linear algebra. So this is specifically lots of work around doing vector and matrix multiplication, which come up all the time in the second half of the course. So we flip slides. And when we switch over to the second half of the course, this is where we start building machine learning models, right? And we look at the mathematics underneath, right? So Professor Paisley does the heavy lifting, covering the math beneath and supporting, right, each one of these algorithms. It's really critical to make sure you get that kind of basis and foundation upon which to build your understanding from there, right? So we start with the simplest model, which is a regression model, right, as a way of doing supervised machine learning, right? Supervised machine learning is the one first major division of the kinds of machine learning we do in the second half of the course, right? So module 1 covers regression models, which are just simple models that go and try to predict a real value given a number of input variables. So then we dig further into linear regression with those base regression models now extended using a technique called regularization to make them more generalized and more robust. In module 3, we look at Bayesian methods to go ahead and accomplish the same kinds of tasks, right? So this gives us models that are a little more stochastic and a little more readily generalizable, right? So we take a look at that. And then we start to look at classification algorithms, right? So these are the kinds of models that go ahead and predict a label rather than predicting a numeric value, right? So for example, if you saw an image, you might predict whether the image contained a dog or a cat or those kinds of things, right? So these classification algorithms are used in a number of ways, right? We'll look at techniques like logistic regression as a way to extend what we learned in linear regression over to classification problems. But then we also look at Bayesian techniques for doing this, and look at things like support vector machines and decision trees, right, for doing classification. That covers, and that will wrap up the first 7 weeks of the course. And then we move on to unsupervised learning, which is doing the same with data sets that don't have all that pre-processing and labeling, but rather are ripe for discovery for patterns, and that still quite useful models can be built on top of these, right? So in module 8, we'll look at clustering, where we try to find from just an unlabeled data set where the data points, cohere and cluster together, right? That's actually quite powerful. And then we move on to look at recommendation systems, which will show us techniques for taking really huge masses of data and reducing them to models that are a little more readily computable, and yet can still go ahead and find, the things one person might like given other people's preferences and recommendations, right? So, and then towards the end of the course, we'll move on to sequential data models, where we take a look at the kinds of models that have a dependency upon things that occurred in the past, right? So we the models we looked at prior to that don't have that sort of temporal dependency. So we'll take a look at that in module 11. And then finally in module 12, look at association analysis, just again to see which things go together. It's a sort of variant of the clustering methods. And with that, you should have a good basis in statistical machine learning, both supervised and unsupervised, and have good knowledge of how to use Python and Jupyter notebooks to go ahead and work in machine learning. And so you will develop the skills over this 5-month period, right, and learn how to define models and build from there, right? So both regression and classification models on the supervised machine learning side, and also on the unsupervised side, things like recommended sisters or topic models, right? And also, we'll spend some time looking at how to, change the hidden parameters of models, right, or hyperparameters of models, right, to go ahead and make them more robust, and how to tune those, right, and also, find ways to go ahead and predict, ranges of possible outcomes in real world applications, not just, definitive or, single predictions. I think it gets us to the next slide. So back to you, Mark.
Thank you so much, John, for that excellent overview. Let me tell you a little bit about your learning experience. Now, a lot that I'm going to be talking about has already been hinted at or has already been talked about a little bit earlier on in the webinar, but just to make sure that I emphasize some of these points. So your learning experience, first and foremost, you have a user-friendly learning platform. Everything is in one app. So some online programs, they're just more than happy to just have you scurrying all around YouTube trying to find the video content. Everything is in one place. Your assignments, your video lectures, everything is in one place so that it's easy to find. Everything is also delivered weekly, so we don't just throw 24 modules at you all at once. Everything is spaced out in an orderly way so that you never feel overwhelmed. And also, you're going to be having those live office hours. And also, it says here live lectures, so I believe it's possible that we're going to be having some live faculty webinars as well. The whole purpose of this program is for you to be able to use this content immediately in your careers and in the real world right away. So that is why all our assignments are built with real world applications, and also those incredible peer learning discussions that I talked about. John is going to be moderating these discussion boards and getting you all connected and getting you all to fire ideas off of each other, which is really one of the most enriching, one of the things that we get the most positive feedback on are those peer learning discussions, really being able to connect with your fellow students, with your fellow learners from all around the world. So our subject matter experts, our course leaders, our learning facilitators, the incredible human beings like John who really enrich this program, are subject matter experts. As we talked about before, John is an expert in this field, currently working in this field, and they are those course leaders. That's who's there to answer your questions related to course content and your assignments during those online office hours that John talked about, providing feedback on your assignments and moderating those discussion boards to create a more engaging course experience. So between our rockstar faculty, our 24/7 program support that's there for any technical problems that may arise, and our incredible course leaders, those subject matter experts who are going to be by your side throughout the entire 5 months of this program, you are going to really encounter not just a dynamic and engaging program, but also a supportive program. You will feel supported in many different ways throughout this entire program. So what you can expect each week is that bite-sized learning that I told you about, all those video lectures broken down into 5 to 10 minute chunks. The time commitment, our students invest between 8 to 10 hours a week in this program over the course of 5 months. And you're going to be learning through webinars, peer learning discussions, quizzes, assignments, and also frequent course communication from your learning facilitator, from your course leader to guide you through the experience. Now, the admission process to apply for this program, program support is going to be putting up a link in a little bit that's going to be in the chat box that you can click on. You click on that link, you fill in the application, and then you read through the learning material and you take a sample test to make sure that you are in a good place to launch with this program. You're going to contact your program advisor for the pre-course admission test link, take the pre-admission test, and then apply for the course. Now, I'm actually going to ask John to come back in real quick to tell us about this pre-admission test, because again, there are prerequisites. There's stuff that you need to know before you take this program. So John, I'm going to hand it off to you real quick to talk about this pre-admission test.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. So the point of the pre-admission test is to make sure that you have at least a little bit of a requisite background in the mathematics that are discussed, right? So this is mostly about making sure that you're used to concepts of probability and statistics, so statements about random variables and probability densities and those kinds of things, as well as familiarity with the notation of calculus that gets involved in integration in some places, right, where we integrate a probability density function to compute a probability of a random variable with being within a certain range. And also we take derivatives, specifically gradients of vector fields, right, to see exactly, to find the gradient vector, which points our way down a loss curve, right? So those kinds of things are, just should be concepts that are, at least familiar to you. Not that we're going to be doing lots and lots of, hand integration or hand gradients or differentiation, but rather we will see those concepts and support to have that background in it. You should be also familiar with concepts of linear algebra, specifically, things around vectors and matrices and the operations around them, right? So you should be able to, multiply matrices, although we'll use the Python packages to do that. It's important to understand exactly what's going on there, as well as, operations with vectors where we do things like take dot products or cross products of vectors. And then do some more advanced decompositions that we'll see later on in the second half of the course, right? So having that mathematical foundation is important to get the most out of the material, right? So again, that's what the point of the pre-admission test is. And if you have this background, it shouldn't be too terribly difficult.
John, thank you so much for that. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that. So friends, so that's the pre-admission test. So that's everything that happens before the program. But once you complete the program, this is the verified digital certificate of completion that you will receive from Columbia Engineering Executive Education. And this is something that you can put on your LinkedIn, your resume, your CV. Like I said, it's a verified digital certificate. And it's a great networking tool because on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find people who have taken similar programs, people who have taken other Columbia programs. But it's also really useful because you never know who you might find someday on the other side of an interview table. You might walk into an interview and discover that someone on the other side of the table has also taken either this program or another Columbia engineering program. And you'll discover that you have a vernacular, you have a shared language, a common language that can make you more easily communicate with that person and give you a leg up to maybe getting that job. So the verified digital certificate is a great feather in your cap. A lot of people use it as an excellent networking tool. So it's just one more bonus, not just all this incredible content that you can apply immediately to your present and future careers, but it's a great tool to add to your tool belt. And it's just another great aspect of this program. So with that, program support is going to be putting a link up in the chat box that you can click on to register for this program. Open up that chat box and click on that link because I do not want you to miss the opportunity to join this cohort and join this program. And as you can see there, if you look at the program fee and you look at the fact that this is a 5-month program, although I think it might even be a little more than 5 months because I counted 24 modules. I'm going to be asking John about that in just a moment. But if you work all that out, that works out to an investment in your future, an investment in your career of less than $100 a week for this amazing content presented by Emeritus and Columbia Engineering. So please go ahead, open up that chat, click on that link. Even if you can't register right now, even if you don't have time at this moment to do it, just go ahead and click on the link and make sure that it's open in your browser. If you're anything like me, your browser already has 50 tabs open. So go ahead, click on that link, make it the 51st tab open in your browser. And you can also see there are also flexible payment available and special group enrollment pricing as well. So if you feel that maybe your entire team at work would benefit from this program, click on the link and find out what we can do for special group enrollment for your team at work. So very quickly, I'm going to knock one of these questions out of the way. What time do the live sessions occur, given most of the students are probably working professionals? So you said what time of day they are, but do you know what day of the week the sessions are usually held, John?
I think for this cohort, it would be on Thursdays.
Thursdays. Okay, so thank you so much. So Thursdays at like 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you said, is probably
That's
the
right. Yeah.
okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, John. So Jay had another question, John, about the working in groups. So how many students do we anticipate? What would the group size be? Because online learning, that's kind of unique for an online program to have learning in groups. So could you tell us a little bit more about how the students work together and how much they're expected to work together?
Yeah, the discussion forums is where the entire cohort basically corresponds to one another, and we just let that happen organically, right? So if you have a group of people that you like to work with, right, then that'll just emerge from there. Also, for the office hours that I do weekly, right, we tend to see the same, few students like to come to those office hours, and they tend to be very collaborative with one another, right? So it's up to you and whatever your working style is, right? I've done a lot of online courses myself, and I've worked both in groups and individually, right? And both, styles work well, and depending upon, what I have going on during the day or my career, those kinds of things, right? So, but that's how the environment will work. And again, I think there's a good sized cohort, about I think between 20 or 30 students are enrolled. So you'd have the opportunity to work with all of them.
Thank you so much, John. So Jay's next question, would this material being reviewed be shared with all? And I think what Jay's referring to is those assignments and the fact that it is peer learning. So anything that our students do for assignments, is that something that is shared with everybody or just you, the course leader?
So it's up to you to decide if you want to share your solutions with the other students, right? Again, this is, in the spirit of the open source community, right? We try to share code with one another, support one another, right? And so, and in my reviews of what we do in the assignments, right, I try to show you possible solutions. They're not the only solutions to these kinds of questions, but they're possible, ones that work, right? So the idea that we encourage this to be shared with everybody, but you can keep it private if you like, right? And that's again a matter of your own personal preference or taste, so that we do encourage sharing as much as possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. So next question, what level of expertise is required for Python programming? Now, this course is unique because our entire first module, which is actually Jay's second question about does each module correspond to a week, which is yes, right? Each module is a week, John?
That's right.
So part one, so the Python programming, so we spend the first part of this program is basically 12 weeks of teaching our students Python. Can you tell a little bit more about that? How much expertise going into it they might need? How do our students, how easy is it to learn Python? How much expertise do our students need?
So it's presumed that you have a little bit of background in computer programming, but you don't need any Python experience before coming to this course in order to pick it up and learn it. One of the reasons Python is so popular is that it's very easy to learn and use, right? And one of the reasons that the Jupyter Notebook environment that we use in the course is popular is because it's easy for students to make use of that without having to set up a lot of crazy things in their machine and deal with all kinds of administrative kinds of tasks, right? So it should be readily approachable for you, right? Again, Python is a very forgiving and straightforward programming language, and it's got super online support, super community support, right? So if you have a question about Python, of course, I can answer them, right? And there's also great community support out there that's available for it.
Thank you so much. So, question for us: what advice would you give to students to get the most out of this course?
I would advise participating in the office hours whenever you can, right? Because that's where we have the opportunity to directly speak to one another, and also to share code with other students and and within the course, right? So again, we make each other better, right, by helping each other out and and supporting each other through this kind of journey, right? When we learn as you learn machine learning and data science, right, there's a lot of jargon that's evolved in this whole field, right? And once you've mastered it, you realize that, it's pretty, straightforward looking backwards, right? But when you're climbing that mountain, it becomes a little bit, more difficult. This is why we do best when we support each other through it.
Thank you so much, John. And Jay, thanks you. Yep, absolutely, Jay. That's what we're here for. This will give you a flavor of what those online office hours are like. So if you have any questions or if you have any clarifications, John is going to be there for you, just like he is right now. But John, my question for you is because the great thing about our course leaders is that you are working in the field and you have extensive experience in the field. So can you give our students, we've talked about this program, can you give our students a little bit of a sense of what is going on out there in the world right now? Why should our students be learning applied machine learning? Like, what are the benefits? How fast is this industry growing? Can you just tell us a little bit about what the future holds in this field?
Yeah, I think AI and machine learning and data science mark a fundamental shift in computer science, right, and technology, right. We're going from a world where you had to understand how to basically write the rules in order to turn your inputs into outputs. We're going to a world now where computers can actually learn what the rules are themselves, right? And from that opens up the door to so many applications that were really eluded us before the advent of these technologies, right? So recently, right, within the last 10 15 years, we discovered how to take big huge masses of data and use those to build these models. Before that wasn't computationally possible, and once we figured that out, from there, right, we've gotten to a place now where we can build models that are capable of making predictions to a high degree of confidence and a high degree of accuracy, right? So with that come the kinds of applications we're seeing that are starting to emerge, right? Things like intelligent assistance, automated driving, robotics, healthcare applications, these kinds of things will have considerably more power and considerably more benefit, right, by building and using these technologies effectively, right? So I think it makes a lot of sense to spend your time and your intellectual capital, right, learning how these techniques evolved, learning the foundation on how to build these, so that you can take them and apply them in whatever endeavor you're on.
Thank you so much, John. And can you also, like, one thing that I think that this course can possibly seem a little intimidating to future students. It's like it's a healthy time commitment, it's a lengthy time commitment. And we're asking for this base level of knowledge. One of the things that we're proud of is the fact that we mentioned on an earlier slide, the fact that over 85% of our students all successfully complete these courses, get that verified digital certificate. As the person on the ground who's interacting with our students the most, can you tell us a little bit more about the levels of support available to our students and how supported they will feel throughout this program?
Yeah, sure. The students within the cohorts have done just a super job of forming that sort of community, right? That's helped them climb up this learning curve, and they've been really engaging with me in the office hour settings and also over our Canvas discussions, right? And I've even had some one-on-one discussions with students as requested, right? It's nice to see, right? As heartening to see, right, as folks work together in something that is at first seemingly intimidating, but it ends up becoming something that can actually be quite useful and quite understandable, right? So learning is it's the nature of learning, right? It can feel a little bit painful at first, but after having gone through it, it ends up being quite worthwhile and helpful.
Hey, John, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, my pleasure, and thanks everybody.
And friends, if you have any additional questions, you can send them at any time to Columbia@emeritus.org. Again, that's Columbia with a U @emeritus.org. Hey, we can't wait to have you in the program, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.